Many people are wondering what exactly is the next chapter for mutants and the X-Men in terms of films. Well, we recently got the revelation in Ms. Marvel that mutants are officially here. Now, what happens next is anybody's guess, but let's talk about the popular theory that all the mutants will be multiversed in one way or another. So obviously, if you watched Ms. Marvel, they were playing very loose with where exactly her powers come from, what she is, and they're still playing loose with all those answers in terms of what happens next and what we even learned. All we know is she's got a mutation, and she definitely has some sort of mutant gene that separates her from the rest of her family. She seems to be able to do things with the bangle that doesn't even require the bangle, and sometimes it does, so maybe it's like a power focus. They obviously played with the idea that her powers come from a different realm, but we still don't know the extent of that, and that's obviously still up for revelations down the road. Now, one thing that's very clear is that the mutants, at least some form of mutants, are coming to the MCU. We just don't have an idea of, well, how they're going to be introduced. Outside of Deadpool, who's quite clearly going to be multiversed in, because that's literally what they said. They said he's going to be a fish out of water getting dropped into the MCU. They also did reveal that, yeah, Deadpool has to be to cause him some sort of a multiverse misstep / mayhem, because it's technically an incursion event. So what exactly happens next? Well, the popular theory out there is the multiverse will be the way that we see the X-Men and mutant kind appear. Essentially, pulling a sort of incursion event that brings us mutants into the MCU. Now, whether these characters are going to be the same ones from previous films, or if it's going to be a mishmash of previous films and new castings, we have no idea. But obviously, we just recently found out about Wolverine, specifically Taron Egerton talking about meeting with Marvel Studios to potentially play Logan. So maybe this is one of those things where it could be a mixed bag. But I think one thing is very clear. When Kevin Feige said that when Marvel Studios introduces the mutants down the road, they're going to handle them very differently than Fox, I think we're now seeing the effects of this, because quite obviously, I mean, mutants somehow being connected to the multiverse and this other realm that's connected to Ms. Marvel is as far away as you get from the Fox interpretation of everything, while also still maintaining aspects of the Fox universe because of Deadpool. So I think it is honestly really possible that the theories are right. The X-Men and mutant kind will in fact be multiversed characters. And maybe something will happen at the end of one of the upcoming films, maybe the Marvels, where something happens on Earth. Who knows, maybe that crystal power that connects Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel together, and that weird thing that happened to Monica in WandaVision is all somehow going to spread on Earth and unlock the mutant gene, just like the bangle unlocked it in a way for Ms. Marvel, and that brings us mutant kind. So technically using, in a funny way, an angle of Terrigenesis to spread it on Earth, and then you could just say that specific mutants have been here all along, we just never saw them. That way you could bring in a small amount of X-Men, Professor X, Magneto into the MCU and still have them have the same roles they've always had. And let's be real, Marvel isn't opposed to retcons because, well, Thor Love and Thunder literally retcon how Mjolnir works and why Jane has those powers by flashbacks. So, I think there's a real possibility that all those theories about the multiversal X-Men are actually on point now that we've seen Ms. Marvel.